that this is a reminder that this episode will address various topics that we've discussed all along the way here. In addition to my overeating, in addition to my gambling, in addition to my alcoholism, in addition to my mental health. And of course, a reminder about multiple sclerosis. These may be sensitive to some of our viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. Before we talk to the rest of this disclaimer, some of the names that will be mentioned in tonight's episode have been fictionalized. This is to protect all parties involved, but we are also telling you that viewer discretion is advised from that perspective as well. We remind you to please consult your doctor, your mental health professional, your outreach group, your sponsor, or specialist before adopting any change to your dietary, physical, and/or mental health regime. If you're looking for options with respect to mental health, contact SAMHSA, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, at 1-800-662-HELP. That's 1-800-662-4357. The service is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It's a confidential free information service for individuals and family members facing such stressors. Importantly, if you're facing suicidal crisis or emotional distress and need to be put in touch with a crisis center, call the Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-TALK. That's 1-800-273-8255. Or go to suicidepreventionlifeline.org. You can also text the word HOME to 741-741. Those resources are also available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And then something that has been paramount in my mind and heart over the last 13 months, but quite frankly, the last 11 years, in that of multiple sclerosis and demyelination. The National MS Society is a collective of passionate individuals who want to do something about MS now, to move together towards a world free of multiple sclerosis. Multiple sclerosis is comprised of unpredictable and often disabling flare-ups of the central nervous system. Such flare-ups disrupt the flow of information within the brain and between the brain and the body. The National MS Society is the largest private funder of MS researchers in the world, investing more than $1 billion to date. MS stops people from moving, but the National MS Society exists to make sure that MS doesn't. To contact the National MS Society, please call 1-800-344-4867. Once again, 1-800-344-4867, or go to their website at nationalmssociety.org. Also, as I did last year, I will be taking part in the Walk MS 2022 in Media, Pennsylvania on April 23rd. We are raising money for this and the National MS Society through A Venture to a Cure's fundraising page at rebrand.ly/A Venture to a Cure. Once again, rebrand.ly/A Venture to a Cure. Thank you for those who have donated money to this amazing organization, or even have gone to the National MS Society to learn more about multiple sclerosis and demyelination. It touches me and over to 1 million people in this country who have multiple sclerosis in so many ways, and we appreciate all of you. And on that, let's begin. Tonight, we talk about something that happened 3 years ago. Outside of the obvious, outside of being in a place where I could barely walk 5-10 feet, needing to sit all the time. Outside of the fact that I was drinking multiple days in a row. Outside of the fact that I had a bad gambling problem. We're going to talk about a certain situation that took place in the middle of an airport. And the two people that told me, hey, there are reasons why you don't need to do those things anymore. We'll talk about that story, and we'll talk about how everything comes together. Because this is the Venture Forward. Good evening, or good morning, or good afternoon, wherever you may be, as I lose my voice for a second. Wow. Didn't expect that to happen. And welcome to the Venture Forward. I am John Venturini, a recovering addict of overeating, obesity, alcoholism, and compulsive gambling, and it is an honor and pleasure to see all of you tonight on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and also the fundraising page for the Walk MS 2022. We are being simulcasted over there for the next couple months as we are raising money for the National MS Society. It is an honor and pleasure to see all of you tonight. A bit of a background on the disclaimer. And you're talking names are being held for fictionalized and whatnot. Yeah, there are a couple of people of interest in this story whose names have been fictionalized, and that is for obvious reasons. And I am thankful for them. And they are definitely part of this story. So it's being told. So we're telling that story. But let's see who wins the door prize tonight on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. And that would belong to Rich Vibes, who says, good evening. Good evening to you, Rich. Rich has an incredible show on Mixcloud on Sunday afternoons at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. He is an incredible DJ, and I definitely recommend you go see him. Again, Rich Vibes over on Mixcloud. Great guy. Great friend for sure. We also have Sarah over on YouTube who says, hey, JV. Hey, Sarah. Hope you're doing well this evening. We also have Jamie who says, evening, everyone, with the sunglasses on. That would be apropos for this conversation tonight. So I'm glad you put the sunglasses on because I can definitely use sunglasses right now. We have Cherie from Australia on YouTube who says, hey, JV and the VF family. And a hug and a kiss back at you, Cherie. We also have Amanda on YouTube who says, hey, y'all. Hey, Amanda, hope you're doing well. Hope you're feeling well tonight. And then we have Sue on YouTube who says, hi, everyone. And hi, Sue. Hope you're doing well as well. Well, where do I begin? Let me first start off by thanking everybody for giving me a congratulations yesterday on the 1,000 days of sobriety. I never thought in my life that I would be at 1,001 days sober, and many of the reasons why, and the many reasons and mechanisms that have come to me over the last nearly 3 years has been thankful to all of you in this community, but also thankful to the two people we're talking about on tonight's episode. It is amazing what sort of people come into your life when you need them the most. Tonight's conversation is not very slide heavy. This is going to be me being conversational. So I will say, if you have any questions at any time, be sure to put them in the comments because I'll be able to answer any questions you have for sure. Jamie says, belated congratulations. You are an inspiration. Thank you, Jamie. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you. Let's rewind to February of 2019. This was at a time where I took maybe the worst ID photo for my job, and at the height of my weight at 480 pounds, and I could barely walk. I needed to sit down all over the place. And as I've said before on this show, very hard to do that when you're traveling a lot for your job. So imagine this guy with a rolling suitcase and a briefcase that has 2 laptops in it and is walking all over the place and is barely hanging on. That was me. And also imagine now that I was at a place in my life where there are a lot of things going on that weren't great. We've talked about the problems with my marriage. We'll talk about that for a second. You know, that was something that was coming to an end throughout 19 and into 20. There was problems going on with other realms in my life, and I was at my wit's end. So much so that I reached out to a couple of friends of mine, not the friends that we're talking about on tonight's show, saying, hey, I need help. Do you know anyone that can help me out here? Because I have no place to go to. I have no place to talk about what's bothering me. Do you know anyone who's been through this themselves? For the reasons we talked to on the show, but for other reasons as well. And at some point, we can dot I's and cross T's accordingly. My buddy sent me the name of someone who, for the sake of this episode, we will name Stella. And I reached out to Stella and I said, look, I'm not doing well here. I know you've had problems trying to get yourself into a better place, but you have ways of figuring that out, and you figured it out and you're doing so well. And my buddy said that maybe you could help me out here. And I didn't expect any sort of return. I didn't expect any sort of response. I was just in the middle of an airport having a nervous breakdown. No joke. The middle of the Southwest Terminal in Raleigh-Durham, where I was pretty loud and I was crying profusely. Fortunately, it was about 2.5, 3 hours before I was boarding on that plane. Now, benefit for me, being 480 pounds, I guess, is that I had 2 tickets to the plane. 2 tickets to the plane because I needed the extra seat. Because every seat on Southwest is a coach seat, so there's no such thing as first class. And then also Southwest is very aware of this, so they have a customer of size policy. And guess who fit the customer of size policy? This guy over here. So I was waiting, and I was crying, and I had a hard time breathing as well. But I did send that email. And 45 minutes later, Stella emailed me back. She said, I know exactly what you're going through. She said, I've been through this situation myself. Stella used to be 300 pounds herself. And the one thing that caught me in that email was, I cannot imagine how much this is affecting you. So she quickly said, well, I went through this myself, but I don't know how this is affecting this guy. So I said, thank you for responding to my email. Would love to talk to you. And we started talking. And truth be told, throughout all of 2019, we talked a lot. But she definitely was one of the grounding forces in this story. Because she, through subsequent conversation, ended up telling me about the books that she reads, ended up telling me about the kind of therapy she goes for, it ends up telling me about all these treasure troves of things that I've talked to you about on this show, the things that I've learned. I learned from Stella. Truth be told. Quick question. Sarah asks, did you know she'd been so heavy? No, I had no idea. I had no idea at the time. And my friend never told me that she was heavy. So eventually she showed me pictures of her heavy. It's like, yeah, she was heavy. But there's someone who understands what I'm going through and responded back to me. One thing we've talked about on this show before is the fact that I had a hard time going home. I think things were so bad at home that any chance for me to be at the airport for a little while or do other things, I did. Because things were so sad around here. That's what I did. Gave me time to write an email. Gave me time to read the response to the email. Gave me time to form an incredible friendship. Not only with Stella. Stella and her dear friend Rebecca. And we'll talk about that in a second. Question popping up here. Laura says, does she know you have this show? Yes, they both do. Yes, they know they're being fictionalized. So, help when we need it the most, in the sense that sometimes we look for people to try to answer our prayers, that try to answer us when we are at our wits' end, when we're surrendering. We said we had enough. And we just become our vulnerable selves. Vulnerability matters. Vulnerability is that sacrifice. It's like, that's it. I surrender, rather. It's that surrender. And to get that response was incredible. Now, a couple thoughts. In the journey that was 2019, on this weight loss journey, as I continue to lose weight, especially after that last drink, they provided me more help. They told me to go watch The Secret and read The Secret, which really helped. If you've never read The Secret or watched The Secret, it talks about manifesting. And when you believe that February, that thing in February, me writing that email in February would be a walk down the road for manifesting things. Quick comment from Rich. Says, belated congrats, JB. I was off social media yesterday as he was celebrating his birthday. Happy birthday, Rich. Happy belated birthday to you, my friend. And Jamie says that she likes The Secret. It is a great book. It is a great documentary. So, yeah, definitely recommend. So that helped. I was watching The Secret in the middle of a hotel room in Chicago on basically a vacation that was not the greatest, but I had 3 or 4 hours by myself and I watched The Secret and I was very glad I did. I took notes like a madman. I was sitting there typing feverishly into my MacBook. It's like, there are a lot of things I'm learning here. And that was very important. There were a few other things that they shared with me, but we'll get to that as we start piecing all of this together. So you know that I had the problem with the weight. You know that I had a problem with alcohol. And then the gambling came on later, but that was from something that has absolutely no relation to this. But as I continued to lose the weight, they continued to be very supportive of everything I was doing. Fun fact, Rebecca, Stella's friend, runs half marathons. And we talk about reasons why I'm gravitating to running that half marathon in about less than 5 weeks, 4.5 weeks from now. One of the reasons is because of Rebecca. Another reason, as I mentioned before in the show, is my cousin Ian, who's run a handful of New York City marathons. So running has very much been a part of their lives, and they have shown me what it has done for them. In fact, what we talk about on Tuesday is an episode called Why Running? Why Now? Why Not? So we're going to talk about why I'm running and the health benefit that it's giving me. But that's Tuesday night. We continue with this. When I reach out and say, Sammy is joining us on YouTube. It says, hey, JV. Hey, Sammy, how are you? So they have been a fundamental part of my life. We continue to talk all the time. We continue to share ideas. I continue to share progress pics as I was losing the weight. Now building muscle. You know, birthdays, holidays, and whatnot. They have been an incredible set of friends. But when I was down on my luck, they were there to talk. At least first, Stella, and eventually Rebecca as well. There are many details that I obviously have not filled in. And quite frankly, it'd be very hard for me to fill those in right now. But I will tell you that they did a lot for me. They understand exactly what I was going through. They listened to countless conversations about bad things that were going on. Countless conversations about how I felt really less than a human being, how I wasn't in my right place or right mind, even as I was losing the weight. They were incredible support at a time where, quite frankly, I had no one else. I had my friends, I had my colleagues, I had whatnot, but they didn't understand exactly the arduous detail of what I was going through. The two people at the time did, Stella and Rebecca. So the point of this story is, in light of the story we talked about on Tuesday, is that vulnerability and blind faith sometimes really pays off. And I'm very thankful for that. I wouldn't have learned as much as I learned if it wasn't for them. When I say I don't have many slides, I do have a couple. So let's go over that real quick. The picture in the lower left-hand corner is a picture of me just waiting outside of a store in North Carolina. The upper left-hand corner is a artist rendering of what that terminal looks like, RDU. And then the picture on the right is a recent picture of me. And if you piece everything together, well, that's what it looks like. You had this very morbidly obese man who was just a fraction of himself, looking for that next drink, looking for that next meal, looking for that next chance to go to Hollywood Casino on the way down to RDU. Or on the way down to BWI, rather, before flying to RDU or wherever. Funny thing about that, it's one of those neighborhood casinos as well, and yet I spent a lot of time there. As much as I spent a lot of time at Valley Forge Casino. Not the national park's great too. Definitely recommend hiking there, but that casino's seen a lot of my money too as I go down that road. But anyhow, I wasn't in a good place. And yet I asked for help and I got the help when I needed it the most. So what were some of the things they taught me? What did Stella and Rebecca teach me? And this is just a select list. It's not the whole entire list. But here's a list of 6. Stella taught me about internal family systems, and moreover, why internal family systems was important for her in her therapy. The constructs of that we deal in many parts, the fact that we deal in many sort of persona, and that we have to manage all those, and that there are firefighters and managers and all of that. Stella taught me that. Stella introduced me to the book Eat to Beat Disease, a great book, especially when I was dealing with gout-like condition. That book talked about what celery root can do and what tart cherry can do, amongst other things. Not on this list, she also talked about the power of juicing. So, I mean, the thing about the power of juicing in the sense that it helps many people who were morbidly obese become very, very healthy. Gentleman's name is escaping me right now, but he did a couple of movies about it. Fat and Nearly Dying or something like that. Another thing, the body keeps a score. When we talk about sort of the mental duress that we go through, but also what that means to our physiological nature, that's a really good book to read. That was recommended. What's not on the list is The Secret. We talked about that in the beginning. The Secret was a very important thing to this list. Both Stella and Rebecca reinforced what the Cartman drama triangle was, because they both had it in their lives. So we talked at great length about the importance of analyzing that. The importance of tender loving care. The fact that we need self-love. We need to take care of ourselves. And more times than when we're stuck in a rut and going through the same rigmarole, we don't do that. And how that is very important. And that your love and strength starts inside. I would love to take credit for that, but that originally came from both of them. Stella and Rebecca. Because they are fully big believers of that statement. So there have been a lot of conversations that came out from what was a cry for help. That came out of what a buddy of mine said, hey, you should really talk to Stella. And I didn't think Stella was going to get back to me. And all of a sudden I have a treasure trove of things that I have in my arsenal that I've held for the last 3 years. And to say I'm thankful and blessed would be an understatement. They taught me things about what I stand for in this life that I never thought. And that was some really deep conversations. But sometimes we need to find people like that. We need to find people, or we need people in our lives that can at least provoke that sort of thought. And if it wasn't for them, I don't know if I'd be successful in this at all. I've said this to them many times. It's like, thank you for all the conversations and everything we've talked about. And they reminded me that, John, you did the work. We just helped you. And they did. They absolutely did. And I love the both of them dearly. This was a bit of a cryptic message tonight. For reasons obvious. But the point I'm trying to make in this episode tonight is that sometimes we need to think outside of the box in order for us to make that healthy gateway to the next step, to make that venture forward, if you will. That not everything is cookie cutter. Not everything is textbook. Not everything goes back to, say, Judeo-Christian norm or whatnot. Some things are really alive and off-center from that, and that is perfectly okay. It's perfectly okay. But we have to be open to that sort of thinking. We have to be amendable to that sort of thinking. We have to be agile enough to that sort of thinking. A couple of comments. Jamie talked about how Eat the Beat Disease is so good. And Jamie also said that asking for help was a saving grace for her too. Sometimes that's exactly what we have to do, is ask for help. Ask not and receive not, right? So you want to receive anything in this life, you should ask for it. Whether vocally or subconsciously or subliminally, you want something, ask for it. Marilyn joining us on YouTube says, I fell asleep and now I have to catch it on a rerun. At least I got to say hello. With 3 waves and 3 purple hearts. Well, 3 waves and 3 blue hearts back at you, Marilyn. Good seeing you tonight. I think the other thing that is not on this list that I wanted to wait until 30 minutes into this episode is they reminded me on how unhealthy and how toxic my marriage was. And how no one should go through what they're going through because of the codependent mess that they're in. Whether it was from addictions that they are driving themselves or addictions that are around them. They were adamant about that. And if there wasn't anything else I couldn't thank them for, it was that. Because that was one of the toughest conversations I ever had with them. I remember hanging out on the stoop of Stella's townhouse. And the 3 of us were just hanging out, drinking coffee. And that conversation drove me to tears. Because here I am thinking about what my past led up to at that point. And the sort of mistakes that I was making. And the sort of insecurities I had about myself. I was in a very horrible place. They saved me. Flat out, they saved me. Again, yes, I know I did the work and everything. Fully aware of that. But they saved me. Matt joining us on YouTube says, I will ask for something. Chili dogs. Yes, you should ask for chili dogs. They're fantastic. I remember someone saying that they know a place where they can get really good chili dogs. That person might strike a very strong resemblance to you. So, at some point, chili dogs for sure. Jamie asking a very good question, though. Not tacos? Guy handed Jamie, she's right. Matt, I thought you were all things taco. But there you go. Chili dogs. Sherry says, gotta go. Have a great rest of your day, everyone. Hope to catch you tomorrow, JV. Hope to catch you tomorrow, Sherry. Hope you have a great morning, great day. Yeah. So, I'm not usually one that says I'm on an episode 2. I think I'm still a bit just going through a 3-year sort of fast motion thought in my head as I'm trying to have a conversation on all of this. Matt says it's not a zero-sum game. Let me go back to Maine. Yeah, it's definitely not a zero-sum game at all. Chili dogs, tacos, Fogo, all of it. Yeah, it's not a zero-sum at all. Yeah, far from it. I think the one thing I wanted to do before this episode ended, as this might have been the most cryptic episode we've had in a year and a half. But thank you for letting me have this episode, because this is a tribute to 2 amazing people. But let's do a little bit of language of letting go, shall we? Language of Letting Go, written by Melody Beattie, another book that was recommended to me outside of the work of Brene Brown. So Stella is amazing, and Stella definitely gets a lot of props on this episode. As I talk about these things, Stella's getting a lot of props. But today's language of letting go is recognizing feelings. Experiencing feelings can be a challenge if we've had no previous experience or permission to do that. Learning to identify what we're feeling is a challenge we can meet, but we will not become experts overnight, nor do we have to deal with our feelings perfectly. Here are some ideas that might be helpful as you learn to recognize and deal with feelings. Take out a sheet of paper. On top of it, write, if it was okay to feel whatever I'm feeling, and I wouldn't be judged as bad or wrong, what would I be feeling? Done that one before. Then write whatever comes to mind. You can also use the favorite standby of many people in discovering their feelings, writing or journaling. Shocker, Stella taught me to start journaling as well. 2 points for her. You can keep a diary, write letters you don't intend to send, or just scribble thoughts onto a notepad. Watch and listen to yourself as in right? Oh, watch this again. Wow. Watch and listen to yourself as an objective third person might. Listen to your tone of voice and the words you use. What do you hear? Sadness? Fear? Anger? Happiness? What is your body telling you? Is it tense and rigid with anger? Running with fear? Heavy with sadness and grief? Dancing with joy? Talking to people in recovery helps too. Going to meetings help. As we say, meeting makers make it, right? Once we feel safe, many of us find that we open up naturally and with ease to our feelings. We are on a continual treasure hunt in recovery. One of the treasures we're seeking is the emotional part of ourselves. We don't have to do it perfectly. We only need to be open, honest, and willing to try. Our emotions are there, waiting to share themselves with us. Today, I will watch myself and listen to myself as I go through my day. I will not judge myself for what I'm feeling. I will accept myself. And that's today's language of letting go. What's funny about today's passage is there are a lot of corollaries between that and what was taught to me by Stella and by Rebecca. They are definitely help when you need it the most. And I will always be thankful and grateful for them. Some comments. Jamie reminding me that this is my show, buddy. Speak your heart out. Thank you, Jamie. Appreciate that, and I appreciate you. Cherie's reminding us about meditation tomorrow. I'm definitely going to take you up on it for sure. And Sarah tells Jamie to tell it, as we should all tell it. Let's talk about something that happens on Fridays that I'm excited about. And that's VF Talks, where we have conversations about anything and everything. With Matt Haas, with Paul Burke, and all of you. At 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific. And then Tuesday, on the next Venture Forward at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific, we're going to talk about my fascination and my drive to be running. Why running? Why now? Why not? And the one thing that is not in the closing credits is that 1 week from today, we'll talk more about the MS Walk. The MS Walk that's being held in media, but also across the country. Incredible organization now, the National MS Society. In fact, let me bring that up once more. In that the National MS Society is a collective of passionate individuals who want to do something about MS now, to move together towards a world without multiple sclerosis. You want to talk about an organization that is not only a great educator of what multiple sclerosis is, but they are definitely a great support for all of us who have multiple sclerosis, but our families as well. And I am very thankful for the National MS Society for sure. So the Walk MS 2022 is in Media, Pennsylvania on April 23rd. And again, if you want to raise money with me for that, you can go to rebrand.ly/adventure to a cure. Once again, rebrand.ly/adventure to a cure. And if you want to learn more about the National MS Society, you can call them at 1-800-344-4867. Once again, 1-800-344-4867, or go to their website at nationalmssociety.org. One more final comment from Jamie. Jamie says, love you all. Have a beautiful night, JB. Thank you for telling another part of your incredible story. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you for being a friend, loyal and true to not only the program, but thank you for being such a great friend. And I'm very appreciative of you, as I am appreciative of all of you, and I'm very much thankful and blessed for all of you, and I love you all. I can't even talk straight. But on that, I'm going to say the same thing I say at the end of every Venture Forward in VF Talks. Stay safe. Stay sane, stay strong, stay sober. You're worth it. We'll see you tomorrow night at 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific for VF Talks. Have a wonderful night. I love you. Fly be free.